Welcome to Medicine with the Metals. I'm Mark, and this is Michelle. Join us on our psychedelic healing journeys. Hey, Michelle.
Another awesome week behind us.
Yeah, sometimes I'm really glad when they're behind us.
Don't say that.
Ryan's
laughing.
We got an awesome guest today. This man, we talk about a lot of things on this show. We talk about integration. We talk about breakthroughs. We talk about just
the ego death, which I don't like that word, but
about 4 years ago, I jumped on this path, and this man really, he propelled me. He really, I might get some tears in this show today, but that's just part of me.
Definitely will.
So, but he's been a really, really big support, and he's a big support in this community. A lot of people know Brandon Picard. He worked at a church in Orlando, Soul Quest, for a little while there.
That's where we all met.
Mm-hmm. He has a great, and it's free, which I think is so amazing. The integration calls he does on every Wednesday. I mean, even after 4 years now?
I've been going to that call for almost 5 years now.
Yeah, 5 years. That's how important integration is. And we're going to jump into integration today.
Medicine, we're going to jump into all of it. His beautiful sacred sanctuary down there in Florida. We're going to talk to Brandon about all kinds of stuff. Yeah. First, let's take a commercial break. And when we get back, we'll talk to him.
We'll be right back with Brandon.
Tired of feeling like you're barely holding on? Are you searching online for answers, only to come up with more questions? Looking for ways to feel better and make life more livable? There is a way where you can feel better and take on the world. Transforming your mental health, nourishing both your body and mind. Embark on a journey to lasting happiness and vitality, all powered by the wisdom of Mother Earth.
So on today's show, we have Brandon Picard. He is a psycho-spiritual integration coach. He is a medicine facilitator. He's a very dear friend of ours and we met him at the beginning of our journey. So welcome, Brandon. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us.
Oh, it's about time. I'm so glad to be here. It's so good to see you too. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself? Why don't we jump into what brought you to this space, how long you've been on this journey, and why you're still here?
Such a crazy story. It all started, I think, I'm a combat vet, and I went through a terrible divorce in 2011, and I would really define 2011 through 2018 as my 7 years wandering hell. And I think I work in a job, a career that requires, I can't take any medication for it. So there was I was the person that was supposed to be on SSRIs. I probably should have had antidepressants, but I couldn't. I had to kind of bear through it. I had 50-50 custody of my kids. So when I had my children, I was okay. It was when I didn't have my children. Those were the times when my ego, I needed validation externally. I was womanizing. I didn't go to alcohol or drugs because of my career, but I was trying to find validation externally while I was wallowing internally. Mm-hmm. It was when I came to ayahuasca, thank God, when I came to ayahuasca, I like to say that I kissed my kids goodbye before I left to do ayahuasca, because I knew that if this didn't work, it was going to be it for me. And I was at peace with that. And worst off, I would say I didn't really even want it to work. I was so tired and exhausted. But ayahuasca, it saved my life. It absolutely saved my life. And it wasn't just ayahuasca that saved my life. It was the people at the church that I did ayahuasca for the first time saved my life. It was It was the old cats of like Dr. Scott, even Chris Young from SoulQuest pulled me to the fire, saved my life. I owe it to all of the community as much as the medicine. And I started volunteering going back because I knew how important it was, but the medicine showed me it was, instead of wallowing internally and trying to find something externally to fill you, it's the opposite. It's the flip of the coin. It's all your answers are inside you. You are one with the divine. And when you can connect to that, instead of taking from the external to fill you, it's give back to the external. It's bring that love outwardly. And that's basically been my commitment since 2018.
Yeah, that was my question. How long ago was that? And you just answered that, 2018. And what brought you to SoulQuest? I mean, what brought you to ayahuasca? Had you heard about it? What was that first experience like for you?
It's so funny. I heard about ayahuasca in 2009, back on the Howard Stern show of all places. His sidekick, Robin, did ayahuasca, and they were busting her chops about it, going, "I can't believe you would pay money to go throw up and go through that torment." And I was on the other side listening to this going, "Where is this place? Where did she do this? This is amazing. This sounds incredible." So it kind of planted the seed then of knowing about something like that. And then it would pop up periodically. But where it all came to head was in the beginning of 2018. I went to a wedding in Key West, Florida, for some friends that I used to hang out with back in high school. And I'm going to this wedding, haven't seen them since high school. And there was sitting next to a lady on the plane, and she said that she had 2 children, and one of them they were Mormon, and one of them excommunicated from not only the church but the family. They lost touch with them. But the other one's in Peru doing a mission. And I was like, "I want to go to Peru." And she was like, "What do you want to go to Peru for? Machu Picchu? You want to see something? What do you want to do in Peru?" And I said, "I want to do ayahuasca." And I thought that was going to be the end of the conversation, but her face kind of dropped, and she was like, "That's what my oldest son does now. He went originally there for a mission for his church, and then all of a sudden he went and did ayahuasca and joined the tribe, and he works down there now as at a retreat." And I was like, "Oh, you got to get me in contact with him." And she did. And I went to Key West, Florida, and I got in a bar fight at 40 years old. I was drunk the whole time, and I felt ashamed at Key West. It just kind of all came to head. And when I came home, I just remember he reached out, and it was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to happen." And so I was going to Peru until a week prior. I have the time off from work. A week prior, he stops returning my phone calls, stopped texting me, stopped everything. And I was like, I'm not going to go to Lima on the off chance that this guy's going to meet me in an airport. So I started looking around, and I found SoulQuest in Orlando. And it was like totally divine. I loaded up my motorcycle and drove there, and drove there a week later.
And what was that first experience like?
First experience, I go there because I said I was at the end of my rope. I didn't think I belonged here on earth anymore. And that first experience was 9 circles of hell. It took me to the worst of the worst, and it was terrifying. It was the furthest thing from love. It was the furthest thing from love. I remember afterwards, I was like, thank you very much, everybody, but I'm leaving. I'm more messed up now than I was before I came. It didn't show me that I didn't belong here. It showed me I didn't belong anywhere. Like it was an existential problem. It was lifetimes and lifetimes, and I'm not a part of anything. And thank God, Dr. Scott was able to talk me down and convince me to do it again. because the second time around, I was so terrified. And when I felt the medicine come on, I remember telling the medicine the Friday night, the first time I did, I was like, I don't belong here. I get it. I get what you're telling me. I'm not a part of this, and I shouldn't be exploring consciousness. I need to be a better human. I know I'm not supposed to be here. So when I drank again, that's the Saturday, I remember thinking, if she did that to me last night, what is she going to do to me now when I come back? When I just promised her I wasn't going to come back. But I noticed that right when the medicine kicked in, someone hugged me from behind, and I turned around to look who it was, and there was no one there. It was the medicine. She embraced me. She loved me. She fueled me the whole night. You are a part of this. You are supposed to be here, and it was just the most loving experience I ever could have. And that was the beginning of her showing me my mind, that all of the 9 circles of hell is my illusion. That is my manifestation. That is my mind, and it's the furthest thing from my heart. And it was me being able to immerse myself in my heart and connect to something I've been disconnected with for decades. So it was amazing, full circle, and just the beginning.
And how long into your journey there did you realize this is my path of what I'm supposed to be doing with my life? How long did that become apparent to you?
I've had people ask me, they're like, well, how do I become a facilitator? Or how do I become an integration coach? And I honestly can't tell them. I don't know. It's the craziest thing. It was like, I knew immediately that this is something. That's all I knew. I didn't know what an integration coach was. I didn't know how to be a facilitator of medicine, but I knew it was something where I know I needed to give back. And that's as simple as that. I know I need to give back. So my initial was, I got to come back and volunteer. I don't care what it is, sweeping floors, cleaning buckets, whatever. I just want to be a part of this. I got to be a part of this. And so I immediately came back. 2 weeks later, I'm volunteering, and I live in Atlanta, and I would just fly to, or I would drive, or I would fly to Orlando to the retreat every other weekend. The weekend I didn't have my kids, I'm going to go out womanizing. I'm going to go partying. I'm going to do whatever I can do to distract myself, right? Why not instead of just fall in indulgence, why don't I sacrifice? Why don't I go back and volunteer? Fill that time in with something useful. So it was immediate. And then I would say it just started building and building and building. The more and more I went, the more and more I immersed myself in it. So the sacrifice, I fell in love with what I was doing. So it didn't turn out to be a sacrifice at all. The sacrifice was paying money to get there. That was it.
All these stories are so similar, and they bring us back to the same thing. We're so comfortable with dealing our traumas. Our traumas are easier to deal with. It's the joy that we have the hard time to deal with. And these medicines really, my first breakthrough came with you back in 2021 in January. And I don't forget these times, and very similar to you, I just saw something about these medicines. I saw people changing their lives, and really, like, I'd never seen this before, never seen people like change their lives like this. And it was just so amazing. Just like you, every weekend I dove in. And I think we were fortunate because during COVID, we were very fortunate because things shut down, but Florida stayed open, and a lot of people went and come and drank ayahuasca. And it was pretty, I really didn't get the joy from the medicine. Was great, but it was that every weekend seeing people and changing and seeing these. But the worst part about that is all these people were leaving and they're being fed to the wolves. And this is where the integration came, and, the hard work. And, the medicine is such a small portion of this work. It's everything that we do after. When we first dove into this path, like you say, we don't know. I think I was at the end of my rope too. And once we see that, like I left the first that week too. I left. I said, I'm fucking out of here. But 3 weeks later, I was back in that same church, and I was found something that nothing worked before, and this is working. And that community and those people, and just
It's the community.
It's
It
the
was the
love.
community. Soul Quest provided something that I have even yet to see, and we've got a large community, but Soul Quest provided this supportive community that was so beautiful and so, boy, you could just fit right in there, and it didn't matter where you were in the world. You could still come there and be a part of it, and be
And
a
be
part
you.
of the Sundays. And
Yep.
Dr. Scott, like you, he said some very profound things, and I remember him saying, because everybody comes to Soul Quest, and then everybody wants to
Heals them.
serve medicine, and everybody wants to become an integration coach, right? Everybody wants to move to Florida. Everybody wants to quit their job, divorce their husband, move to Florida. Like, everybody has the same idea. And I remember Dr. Scott standing up and saying during his integration call, what's true today is going to be true in 6 months. And if it's true in 6 months, it's going to be true in a year, right? So if you're feeling these things and you sit in them and you wait and stuff, that's how you become the integration coach. That's how you get yourself to Florida. That's what I did. That's what Mark did, right? We sat in it. So the integration coach part of it, this is obviously your calling in life. I've been going to your integration call for almost 5 years now. What, because back then, even though it was only 4 or 5 years ago, it was still new, right? I mean, it wasn't even as talked about it is now. How did you find getting certified? Where did you do that? And how did that come about?
Great question.
That is a great question, and I love it. Thank you so much for allowing me to answer. I started, so I was going back volunteering, cleaning buckets, doing everything I could do just to be in some way of use of service for Soul Quest. And I went to Dr. Scott in probably early 2019, and I said, "Hey, man, what really fuels me and what really fills me is talking with the guest. I love that. I used to go on his integration calls, and I would just sit like a fly on the wall. Just loved listening to people talking about their experiences and him showing them a different angle, or just try to kind of make them look at something that they didn't want to look at, or something like that, but also love and support and encouragement. And so I loved talking to guests, and I loved experience or talk and kind of allowing them for me to be a part of their experience and sharing and being vulnerable with me. And I was like, how can I do that? What do I need to do that? And he said, try this being true to you integration thing. Give that a try and see if that's something that calls you. And I did. So I did the being true to you integration coaching thing, and it just really fit. It was something I really, really enjoyed. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot about myself in the school of becoming an integration coach. But it's funny, I have a background of, I read every Carl Jung when I was going through my depression. I read everything on Carl Jung. I read everything about Buddhism, and I learned yoga, and I became a yoga instructor. I mean, I got all of these modalities in my depression, and I just didn't feel it. It was ayahuasca that allowed me to take that conceptual ideas, all those ideas I had, and to bring it into my heart and feel it, like all came together perfectly in perfect synergy. And then, so Dr. Scott, after I completed the course, said, "Hey, I do Wednesday afternoon. How about I give you Wednesday night, and you can do your integration call on Wednesday night?" And we started that Wednesday after hours integration call in November of 2019. And I think I've missed seven total. I mean, we've been on every day, every week. And I love it. I love the call so much. It's so powerful. Every week there's a new theme. It's not like we control the theme. It's not like today we're going to talk about your relationship with mom or anything like that. It's just the call starts off the first person usually kind of goes into this thing, and then it just snowballs into this. You can see the theme building. It's quite remarkable, and
It
it's
is.
actually a
It's
very beautiful.
it's actually very
experience.
remarkable. And when it comes down to it, that is the biggest part of the integration is right there. I mean, you're getting people fresh off the medicine. Now they're coming to these calls that other people are experiencing the same experience. Now you've got this huge open portal of everybody on the same page. No matter what you're going to talk about, it's all going to resonate to the same thing.
I look at it almost as, like a 12-step recovery meeting. It's very
Absolutely.
similar in the fact that, every time I used to go to an AA meeting, it didn't matter what was going on in my life. Somebody would speak up and I'd hear exactly what I needed to hear. And I used to call that, that's when I knew God was talking to me. Now, of course, since plant medicines, I view God as differently and I am God. And, that's a whole different subject. But at the time, I really felt like that's how God was talking to me, was through other people. And I would always hear what I needed to hear. I can safely say when I get on your call, and I have been getting on that call since November 2019, Mark and I met on that call. I mean, my children get on that call. The father of my children get on that call. I mean, it's a family call for sure. It's a safe place to come and talk. And you have got this way of
Presenting yourself.
holding space.
Yeah, definitely.
Is
And,
that hard to do
Yeah.
sometimes?
Oh, so the funny part about that call, and that's kind of what I want to express to anyone that has an interest in anything, you gotta fail. There's a level of, they go, they talk about imposter syndrome. Well, you're going to have imposter syndrome, and you have got to experience that, and you're not going to feel comfortable until you build experience. Kind of probably like you both with the podcast. It's like starting that podcast. That first podcast is like, oh my gosh, you're probably on edge. Every single thing that goes wrong, you're hyper aware of. I remember the first time I did my Wednesday night integration call, 3 people. I had 3 people on the call. And the next time I did the integration call, it was only one. It was only one of those 3 people. And then the next week, there was no one, 0. And Dr. Scott, you would make me record my calls so he could review them and just make sure that, it's to SoulQuest standard. And, all of a sudden I'm hitting record and there's no one on the call. And I'm just like, well, hi, I guess.
Hi.
And I felt terrible, right?
Yeah.
And if every single thing was telling me, this isn't for you. You need to quit. This is not for you, right? And that's ego. So that's ego right there. Gonna sit there and it's going, yep, you look stupid. You're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. Kind of like, if you think about it, the whole idea of me going to ayahuasca to begin with, having that experience, and I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not a part of this. Right? The ego is that isolating aspect that's going to close you off and limit you and tell you you're not supposed to do this. And it's, do you want to do this? Does your heart want to do this? Keep doing it. And it started growing after that. It's all about sacrifice. Me going to SoulQuest cleaning buckets wasn't to become a facilitator. Me cleaning buckets at SoulQuest was not to become an integration coach. Me coming to SoulQuest was just trying to be a part of something to try to make something better. And that is it. And, it was not for prestige. How I got here, years of just giving and giving and giving. And I mean, I don't even know where I am now. Am I an integration coach? Am I a facilitator? Am I? I mean, I've just arrived into the best version I can be and what I can bring. And that's it.
And that's been really important because you taught me a lot about that. You taught me about humility. You're very compassionate. You're very humble. And the biggest thing you do is you're unjudgmental. You're very, I've known you for a long time.
Meeting people where they are.
You meet people exactly where they are. And that's very hard to do on this path because some people are here and some people are way here, and who even knows where they are. So
Well, that's daily though, right? I mean, sometimes I'm here and sometimes I'm here. And that's what I love about your call is you always start it by saying, it doesn't matter if you're in the trenches or if you're up here, and it's because that's life. I mean, sometimes we're up here and sometimes we're down there, and it doesn't really matter how long we've been on this path. It's still going to be, some days I'm the windshield and sometimes I'm the bug, like Mary Chapin Carpenter says, right?
Yes,
really-
we're all enlightened beings.
Right.
The illusion of our minds prevent us from seeing it. There's no linear line. It's not like I'm further along in my spiritual path than you are. No one's any further along. We're all at the finish line. We just can't see it. We're just blinded by our own illusions.
What does integration mean to you, Brandon? When people say integration and do the work, what does that mean? Like Bob used to say, do the fucking work. What does all that mean to you?
Do the work.
Do the work.
So integration, if you just think of the word integration, right? It's to become whole. It's to become whole. The opposite of integration is disintegration. We faction ourselves, and that's what we do. We like certain aspects of ourselves and we hate certain aspects of ourselves, and we wish those certain aspects of ourselves or our experiences would just disappear. I have a hypercritical mind. I have a super analytical mind, and I hate my mind. And it's trying to faction. It's the idea of acceptance. That's the first step. We live in duality. I always speak of duality. Everything's in two. There's up, down, left, right, hot, cold, black, white. Everything has two sides. Everything. That means you're also split in two. There's a simultaneous world going on alongside you, and you're either in one of the two. You're either in the lens of your ego or you're in the lens of your heart, and it oscillates. There's times when I'm more in my ego and there's times I'm more in my heart. There's times where I'm compassionate, but there's times when I'm judgmental. There's times when I'm patient. There's times when I'm impulsive. There's times when I'm tolerant. There's times when I'm like intolerant, right? So you are either in one of these spheres at any time. The idea is to find acceptance to where you are first, and then you can start going, this is something I want to change. If there's something about me I don't like, accept it first. Don't resist it. Accept that's where you are right now, and that's okay. That's where you are right now. It's okay to be in a not so great place, as long as in that not so great place, you want to make it better. So if you want to make it better, well, here comes the work. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable. If you ever ride a bike for the first time, no one gets on it and just goes. You have to build experience to it. So if you're trying to change an aspect of you, all your answers are going to lay in discomfort. It's going to be uncomfortable to change. Does that make any sense?
Oh, it absolutely does.
Absolutely.
And then during that uncomfortability, you start picking up these tools. And during that uncomfortability, you pick up another tool. You pick up another tool. And that's one of the biggest aspects I've taken away from this. I think without psychedelics, my first ayahuasca journey, I would be dead. There'd be no doubt I wouldn't be here today. And I just think the benefits with all these medicines and where it's brought us is we've catapulted a huge amount since 2019 to now. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of education out there. And there's a lot of bad news out there too. So what I really respect about you is how you don't let that ego get in the way. Like we don't let, in this space, I think we're sometimes looked upon, like, oh, that guy saved me, or he did this, or she did that.
Savior complex.
We're healers, we were looked upon, I guess, healers. And, I think everybody's a healer in their own self. I mean, you're healing you. I'm not your healer. I'm just kind of showing you that there's a way to change.
Yeah. If you want to see a real shaman, the true shaman, they're kids, your children. That's the true shaman, is the children. It's funny because if you look at duality, we're born all heart. We're born all heart, love and light, right? We're curious. We want to grow. We want to expand. We want to meet people. We want to touch bees on trees and run in parking lots. And then life happens. And anytime you're abused, anytime you're neglected, anytime that you fail and fall short, anytime You are chastised and feel small, your world starts to close. It's that ego is the opposite. It's not limitless, boundless, expansive. It's constricting, and your options start limiting. I can't do that. I'm not good enough to do that. Right? You start writing this limited narrative based on your experience. So it's funny, in a sense, our parents taught us ego.
Mm-hmm.
And we're teaching our kids heart. Or we're teaching our parents heart. Like your children, when your kid is running around free in the parking lot, and you're saying you're going to get hit by a car, you need to stop that. Well, technically, you both are right. In an ego, yeah, you got to be protective. You got to don't walk in a parking lot so you don't get hit by a car. But at that same time, that child that's running around in the parking lot's going, "Why are you so scared all the time? Why are you so rigid all the time?" Right? So children are ignorant but can see. Adults, we're wise but we're blind.
Mm-hmm.
And so children can teach us heart, and we teach them ego. Isn't that funny?
That's
Well,
amazing.
what do you do? What do you do to continue to do the work, right? Because now you've been doing this, and we'll talk about what you're doing now with Sacred Sanctuary and whatnot. But what do you do to keep doing the work? Do you still drink medicine? Do you integrate yourself? What do you do to keep doing the work?
Oh, 100%. So the one thing that I really do is really, really start to know who I am. It's funny because here I am, I do an integration call on Wednesdays. I'm sitting there talking to people about heart and ego, and I have this really, really great idea in my mind on how to become peaceful. And that's what I aim for. I want peace in my life. So I have a really, really good idea of how to make that happen. However, I'm human. So I still have egos, and I still have aspects of me that gets irritated and loses my temper and stuff like that. Whereas before, I only focused on when things were good. And when things were bad, I was just like resistant of it. Where now, those times when my ego takes me, I think that's the most fascinating. It's like, oh, here I am, this big teacher guy, and here I am having this little, it wants to sit in my poopy diaper because I'm irritated.
That fun, though?
It's like, how cool is that?
It's so
How
fun
cool
when you're
is that?
stuck in that. Yeah, when you're stuck in that, and you're in that, and like Michelle's like, "You're fucking Fred Flintstone, you idiot."
I call him Fred Flintstone when
and
he
I'm
acts
sitting
like
here,
that.
and I can't get out of it. It's so hard to get out of it, but you finally realize it. You get the fuck out of it.
My loving partner is so amazing. My loving partner, Norella Adams, is so amazing because she sees me when like nobody else sees me. So we'll have a fight or something like that, and I'll get in my ego mode, and I know I'm in it. And it's just like, God bless her patience, because afterwards I'm like,
I say the same thing.
He does, and I'll like sometimes when he's in it like that, and I'll be like, oh, if Brian could see you now, because Brian's always laughing at him and thinks he's funny. I'm like, you're not Mr. Funny Guy now, are you, Fred Flintstone?
So talking about Norella, she's an amazing person. You guys got a great church here in Orlando. Sacred Sanctuary.
Yeah,
Let's
can
talk
you
a little
talk
bit
about
about
that a little
Sacred
bit?
Sanctuary.
Around May timeframe, April timeframe, 2023, Rob and Laura Wilson and Norelle Adams got together and started this church. They wanted to do the idea is called Sacred Sanctuary. The idea was just a smaller setting, smaller group, and just their own little blend on it. And as time went on, more people came on to it, and I love the church that we have. The idea is, it's just it's all about setting, right? Because we're all, set and setting. That's my whole thing. Setting. It's smaller, intimate groups. No more like 20 people. Anything more than that, people can get lost in the cracks.
Absolutely.
People can fall through the cracks, but not only just with very, very amazing, beautiful medicine. We also have Bettina, who works with us, who is an amazing chef. And so there's a culinary experience involved in it too. You are eating we take that very seriously. The food is just unbelievable. We have to change locations, so we still have 2 spots for March and April. I think March is booked up. I think there's still a couple spots left in April. But after that, we are changing locations. So stay on the website. We'll be setting new dates here very shortly.
How can they find you now?
Can you put that up, Brian,
Yeah,
again?
can we
you
see
put
that
that
again?
screen up? These people right here, like Norel, she's been serving the medicine now for, at least I know of, at least 10 years. Laura and Rob came from Soul Quest, beautiful people. I mean, scroll up a little more, and then we have Brandon Picard, and we have Angela and Ryan. I mean, all these people have, I mean, there's something about these medicines. I mean, people don't continue this path if there's nothing.
I think it's so special that what I love about Sacred Sanctuary is that we all the facilitators that are there, we've all worked together for over 4 years, week after week, we've all worked together. So there's a synergy about us and how we work together. It's just very, very loving. We're very, very loving with each other, and we all kind of work the same way with the guests. We all have a certain respect for each other, and each person has a different thing to offer, and we promote that. So I love our team. Our team is so amazing. I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
Create a sense of safety. It's a sense of safety you create, because the biggest thing coming to these medicines is people are freaking out. And even me, I've had so many experiences with these medicines. I still shit my pants before I'm going to drink the medicine. So even after, but I forgot where I was going, because
it's that making somebody feel safe, and your team. I met all of you guys at Soul Quest, and the first time I went there 5 years ago, and I remember thinking at the time, like, I want to be a part of this. Like, I don't know how, but I want to be a part of this, and not knowing what that looks like. I lived in Colorado with my kids, and I didn't know what any of that looked like, and now I'm married and deep in the space. But you guys have you offer this sense of
safety,
safety.
compassion.
I mean, it's when you come to this medicine, it's terrifying. It just is. It's just terrifying. And to have, and I'm speaking of Norel and Laura right now, to have that motherly, calming presence. Is very important.
And the experience with the medicine. I mean, you guys there's a lot of experience under the tent.
It's really special.
Well, you've created something special, and we continue to create these special things. I mean, you, Norel, all these people have, even from that portal, we talk about that portal created a few years ago, and, we've all expanded to such beautiful things, even the people that didn't expand to something. I mean, we've seen lives change through this process, and that's what's beautiful about it. That's what I love.
Well, Soul Quest was the start. We call it the portal. I mean, it's the start for so many of their journey, and then their lifetime commitment to this, because I think that's what we're all doing here. And you just know, right? You said it was the first time you did medicine. You knew you belonged in this space and to be of service. So, what do you see? What do you see for Sacred Sanctuary and yourself moving forward?
And that's the beautiful part. I hold Soul Quest very, very close to my heart. I'll always hold Soul Quest very, very close to my heart. Saved my life, and it will always be a family to me. Sacred Sanctuary, I think, is just an element, a smaller element. We're not in competition or anything like that. We're not trying to compete with Soul Quest by any means. We're just a smaller leg, basically, into the ayahuasca community, if you want a more intimate setting with our team. And there's room for everybody in this. I truly believe it's amazing. I think we're in an amazing place right now. We're very lucky, because there are churches all over the place right now. There are churches all over the place. They always sit there and say, "Hey, man, we wish they would legalize and make this accept. Why is there got to be government constraint on this?" But if they legalized it, you could see that Pfizer would get involved, all sorts of big farm would get involved. They would exploit this medicine. And we're in a really, really perfect niche right now where this medicine is available. People can do it without fear of repercussions. And there's all sorts of different variations that you can do it at. Just do your research, just do your due diligence before you go someplace and make the best decision on what your heart calls for you. But we'd love to have you at Sacred Sanctuary, no doubt about that.
Yeah, we do promote Sacred Sanctuary a lot,
We do.
And so, like, ending here, where do you see all these going? This has been a lot of, in the last few years, there's a lot of information, education out there. Where do you see everything going?
I mean, compared to when you first stepped into this space, right? Mark and I always talk about, before I went and did ayahuasca for the first time, I was scouring the internet, YouTube, trying to find videos. The Last Shaman, I think, was the only documentary that was out there at the time. And this was only 4.5, 5 years ago, right? And now the information and education is widely available. Mark and I have made it our mission to make it widely available.
Especially psilocybin. Psilocybin's, that's the Western world medicine for sure.
Yeah. Where do you
Amazing.
see these medicines going in this world? Not just with Sacred Sanctuary, but in general.
The thing is, though, with the medicines moving forward, I would love to see it where it becomes part of medical research. And I think it is. I think you're starting to see ibogaine in ways of addiction, and you're starting to see more MDMA for anxiety, and these are things that are picking up. But as far as ayahuasca being widely accepted in the United States, I don't think you're ever going to see it. I hope you can see it, but I don't know if you will or not. I think it's always going to have that underground niche for it to happen like that. Sure. I don't think you're going to have facilities that are doing ayahuasca. And which is okay. But the one thing is for sure, you're starting to see a lot more information out there, but all the answers are in you. All the answers are inside of you. And the more information you know, the more confused we get. It's the ego is intelligence. Realize the ego is intelligence. And the more and more you know, the more it pulls you away from your heart. Your answers are inside you. It's as simple as that. It's you're one with God, whatever that is to you, and that should be your focus. You're in service to God, meaning that whatever God is to you, you're in service to God. When you're in service and you're thinking of others and one beside yourself, you're going to feel better. It's just natural. When you're wallowing in your own and thinking about you and self-consciousness, it follows misery. So help the people around you. Realize you're not alone in this world. It'll pay dividends. It really will.
Well, you're an amazing man, Brandon. You've helped so many people. I don't think you know it, but you really have helped so many. And it's pretty amazing to have watched your process and your path. And
it's been a joy watching you for sure.
What you've done, like, for so many, free of charge, pretty fucking cool, pretty amazing.
I'm so grateful for it, and that's the sacrifice, right? That's the obvious sacrifice. It's a sacrifice of time. There's a sacrifice of I got to make sure that all runs well and everything like that. There's a sacrificial element in it, and what am I gaining out of it? Nothing in my pocket personally, but I'm gaining so much from it because that integration call is much more powerful than any money can give me. Anything that, prestige, better than prestige, it's better than all of that stuff. Because all I know is when I'm talking to other people about their situations, I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to me. Yep. And just like them, when they're hearing other people talking about their situations, it might be a different scenario, but man, it's resonating with them, isn't it? Because we all feel the same. In one hand, our ego, we're individual. There's no one that's lived our life, walked our shoes, has experienced it the way we've experienced it and perceived it the way we experience it. No one in the history of time is like each other. Right. That's crazy. That's how much of an individual you are. But our hearts are exactly the same. I know what loss feels like. Mark, Michelle, you know what loss feels like. I know what love feels like. You know what that feels like, because the heart is felt, the ego's intelligence. And
What a
that's what it comes down to. That integration call is everybody connecting.
great way to end it. Let's tell people where we can find you.
With Sacred Sanctuary is Sacred Sanctuary Retreat.com. So it's not retreats, it's Sacred Sanctuary Retreat.com. The integration call I post on the Plant Medicine Path. I posted also on Set and Setting LLC, which you can find on Facebook and Instagram. Please follow us. I would love that. But I also post it in other sites as well. Integration calls Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, on the Plant Medicine Path, I put the link on there as well. We would love to have you join us. Check us out. You don't have to share. You can just listen. But otherwise, if you want to share, this is a place to do it.
We say it
You
all
know,
the
and
time.
if you're looking for one-on-one integration, you know, Brandon offers that as well. I did one-on-one integration with you for about 6 months, and it was, you know, you gave me things that I actually had to do, right? Actual tools and homework that I had to do. And as uncomfortable as most of them were, they were very helpful. And I think that one-on-one integration, pre-ceremony, post-ceremony, very important as well.
I thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. I was going to have a website for Set and Setting to do one-on-one, but right now I'm just, if I can find time for one-on-one, I will. Just so finding the time is the hardest part. That is the hardest part. So,
Understood.
We definitely
All right.
get it.
Well, Brandon, thank you so much. We love
love
you.
you. Tell Narelle we said hi. We love her. And
And I hope you'll come back and talk with us again. Maybe you and Narelle will both come back and talk with us.
oh, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Thank you guys so much. I absolutely love what you guys are doing with Plant Medicine Path and this podcast. You guys have done amazing. I love you both so very much. And I appreciate
love
it.
you, brother.
I really do.
Thank you, Brandon.
Ciao,
we love
ciao.
you as well. Bye-bye.
thank you.
What a great show with Brandon Picard.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude.
It's
Got a lot of people love him.
a lot of people love him. He does his call on Wednesday nights. And the beautiful thing about Brandon is that call used to be just for Soul Quest guests, because that's where he was. But he then moved it over to
Free for everyone.
everyone. Anyone can jump on that call. And it's pretty incredible. Wednesday nights
important,
at 7 p.m.
Yeah. Not really liking this green today, you know?
Really?
Not really.
I love the green on you.
I'm a little white next time. Doesn't bring in my colors well.
I like the green. It's like Plant Medicine Path. It looks good on you.
Keep moving around like
You handsome
fancy.
devil. Well, that was Brandon, and he is wonderful. You can find him
Amazing.
Set and Setting. And then his new
Sacred
Church.
Sanctuary.
what's it called? Sacred Sanctuary. Yes, and it was the Soul Quest crowd that went over there and did that, and it is quite beautiful. We've heard amazing things about it.
Well, you know what we're going to do next?
Our favorite thing,
Psychedelic story.
psychedelic story. Who do we have today? I'm not sure, but I'm excited to hear it.
Hi, my name is Leah. I am an ICU nurse, and this is my psychedelic story. I never would have imagined in a million years that I would have had to get to experience some of the things that I have over the last year. I was someone who was so terrified to try anything. I wouldn't even utilize marijuana because it gave me such anxiety. So if you would have told me years ago that I would be sitting here proudly talking about my love for this plant medicine and all my experiences, I would have thought you were crazy. My journey began last year in March. I had just gone through a lot of things working as a nurse in the ICU in general, and then I had experienced a lot of trauma through COVID. I had lost so many people, and the way that they were dying wasn't with dignity. It wasn't the way that I would want to see people in their stories. And I always thought that I was okay. I used to call my mom every day when I was leaving work, and I would tell her about my night, and she'd talk to me the whole drive home, and she kept telling me how worried she was about me and how I had saw so much and I was so young and I needed to talk to somebody because she was, this was going to take a toll on my mental health. But as a lot of my colleagues do that work in this field, we put stuff down, we shove it down. I care. I cried at every single person I lost. I still remember their names. I remember what room they were in. I know their stories, but I have a job to do. I have to keep going. I had to be okay. I had people I had to care for. I had families I had to care for at home, at work. And I couldn't allow myself to feel those feelings. I couldn't process those things. And I thought it was okay. I kept going. I didn't see anything wrong at all. And then one day I saw a video and it said something about ayahuasca. And it was like a light bulb went off in my head. And I was so adamant that I had to go. And when I searched for everywhere, I couldn't find anywhere except for places in like Peru. And that was out of the books for me. And then, I feel like the medicine really did call me. And when the timing was right, I just one day searched again and was like, oh my gosh, there's a church 2 hours away from my house. How did I miss this? It's been around for years. So I booked my first weekend and I had all these expectations of preconceived ideas of what psychedelics were. And when I went there, I thought I did something wrong. I kept asking everybody is this wrong? Am I doing it? Am I doing this right? And I'm not seeing anything. And all I feel is this, maybe a grandma. And I felt love and she was holding me and we were joking and laughing. And I swore like, this is not right. I'm not hallucinating. I'm not seeing anything. I'm feeling some things and I feel things around me, but that's not what psychedelics are, And from there, I found Bufo. And the first time again, it was just pure love. Just so much love. I've never felt this intense love in my life. And I came out bawling for the love of my children, my love of my life. I've never sat there and been like, I love this life, except for when I sat with Bufo. And I got comfortable. And thankfully, the medicine shows you what you need. Because if I would have dove deep with these medicines starting out, I probably would have ran so far away. But I was met with love and it was very light and I was laughing and I was happy. So I was like, I want to keep doing this. This feels right. I feel like I'm on the right path. And as I dove deeper, then it started hitting me. I'm not okay. I have a problem. Something's wrong. I'm terrified of death. I have such bad PTSD and it's crazy because I thought I was okay, but then the medicine showed me. I started to sit down and I realized that all this internal chaos was reflecting out in my outside world. I became a hoarder and I had no idea. I was hoarding all of my children's things and I felt like everything was out of control. So I was holding on to every little thing that I can hold on to. And if my wife tried to throw away something so simple, a junk little toy, I would cry, I would be angry, and I couldn't handle it. And it was with psilocybin that I was sitting at home one day and I looked around and I was like, it's just stuff. It's stuff. I can do this. What am I doing? And I was able to get rid of so much stuff and so much healing happened in just one setting with psilocybin. And I cannot imagine how long it would have taken for me I had no idea I had a problem. So if I would have went to therapy, how long would it have taken for me to have even realized that there was something going on and then to begin working through it? And I have only been sitting with this medicine since March. And I have come through so much healing, so much realization. I'm a better wife. I'm a better mother. I'm a better nurse. And I take this medicine with me when I go to work as an internal, taking it with me and all my lessons. And I feel like I'm a better caregiver when I'm there. And I've made so many friendships within the circle of friends that feel the same way I do about this plant medicine. I feel more comfortable with these people than I do with some of my friends that I've had for years. I'm more vulnerable. I'm able to tell them my raw, true emotions, and I feel so much love, so much support. And I feel like I've known these people forever, and it's a genuine love, immense love. And I will always advocate for this plant medicine because it's not what a lot of people think. There's so much internal work. And I think that if we would utilize this medicine that we have here on our earth, here for us, growing for us, this natural stuff, we had a lot more of this and a lot less from Big Pharma, we would be avoiding so much stuff going on. And thank you for listening to me, and I hope you consider psychedelics.
She was a pretty badass, huh?
Yeah, I mean, so many things jump out at me. First of all, she's a nurse, an ICU nurse, and I love that. And then the other thing that really jumps out at me about Leah is the COVID. So many people came to these medicines during COVID, and COVID was the catapult in trauma for so many to get to these medicines. I mean, we talked with Dana Lerman during COVID. You came to these medicines during COVID. I came to these medicines during COVID.
It gave us some time to heal. It really did.
It did. COVID was an opportunity for so many.
What amazed me there is she did mushrooms and then she cleaned up her hoarding. How the hell are you tripping on mushrooms, cleaning up your hoarding?
Well, no, she was she was saying that she realized during her psilocybin journey
I just had to
that
make
the
a little-
hoarding was just
yeah.
stuff,
Got
right?
it,
It's just
got it.
stuff.
I thought she started moving it. I was like, whoa.
And she
A
started
little
cleaning.
scary.
I love these psychedelic stories.
Me too. They're the best.
Yeah, they're really beautiful. If you want to tell your psychedelic story, please go to medicinewiththemetals.com, scroll to the bottom and click on Tell My Psychedelic Story. We'll connect you with our producers and you
I don't
can
think
do
we're
that.
paying that $100 a story anymore, are we?
No, but these are a beautiful way to get the word out there and show the people that are doing psychedelics.
They're great stories. Look at how many we have. So many. Great show today, Michelle.
We loved having Brandon. That was a lot of fun. And then, of course, the psychedelic story. Let's talk about some of our affiliates before we jump off here.
Mama Dose is growing. And then we
Mama
got some
Dose.
big news about the directory, but we're
not going to share that yet, are we?
no way. No shove away.
But oh my God. Okay, but back to Mama Dose really quick. Let's talk about her new offerings.
Yeah,
She has got Mama's cacao caps, which are 0.20 grams of the
200
active
milligrams.
ingredient
That's right.
and 0.20 grams of cacao, which is a beautiful medicine in and of
Absolutely.
itself.
And
And
then we
then
have the journey caps.
Mama's Journey caps.
5 1 gram.
5 1-gram capsules. So they're the sage green capsules. They're 1 gram each, and you get 5 of them for Journey. So you get the 5-gram Journey bar, the 5-gram Journey caps.
And check out Reviews.io. Mama Dose gets a lot of great reviews. Amazing.
I think there's currently 140 of them.
Amazing. She's amazing the healing power she has for people.
Yeah, Mama Dose is beautiful.
And then
All
we
right,
got-
I think that's it for today.
Well, we don't ever mention nobody else.
Who else?
I had to hold up this special katakina.
Kutakina. How do you say it?
Katakina.
Kutakina.
Katakina Hape. And then we have the Michael girl. We never mentioned them.
We love these Michael girls. This one is the Inspired.
I took one before the show.
I can tell.
I took one before the show today. No, they're really good. They really get you going. And then we also have Soulvine.
Soulvine. Yep, we love the Soulvine Farah with her Aya drops and the beautiful Aya soap.
And YouTube. You know, we have so many views on YouTube. So many. People
Yep.
love to see our stupid asses. But you know what? We need you to subscribe.
Yeah, please go to YouTube, hit subscribe.
Subscribe. We'll be back next week.
That's right. We'll be Monday, 7 p.m. Psychedelic Mondays. Join
Ciao.
us 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a beautiful week.